Okay, here we go. Today is kind of a tender topic for some of us because for me, it was like all too relatable. Almost to the point where I'm like, should I like go get help? It's ridiculous. So first, let me read something to you. So Mel Robbins called Rosa, or actually Rosa called herself this, but Mel affirmed it, a control freak. She said, I'm a control freak. And Mel was like, you said it. You said it, not me. So I was looking into this because I know for a fact that I'm a control freak. And that's a great thing if you're like an air traffic controller. Like, that's great. Like, you need to be a control freak because it keeps people safe. But in normal everyday living, like, we got to let go, which is super hard for me because I just assume someone's not going to do it the way I want it or with my best interests in mind. So as I was reading through this, it says people that suffer with being a control freak are frequently over anxious, worried, depressed, and spend an inordinate amount of time on aspects of their life that they cannot control. So they give you this top 10 list for control freaks. Why this is important for us is the only way your business works. The only way is if you empower other people to go and do their very best, because you can't carry the weight of your entire business. I don't care if you recruit 1,000 people. If you don't empower any of them, you don't have a business. It just won't work. And so we need to kind of get in control of this. We need to be controlled over our control freakness. We need to take control of our control freakness. That's hilarious. All right, so top 10 list of symptoms you are a control freak. Number 1, they always correct people when they're wrong. They don't put up mistakes. They don't put up with mistakes at all. They like to point out errors. I don't usually do that. I just think it in my head. Like, I'll judge them in my head. I just won't come out and say it. All right, number 2, they always criticize and judge other people. Well, here's the thing. When you criticize and judge other people, guess what becomes your biggest fear? Being criticized and judged. Because you know how this goes down. You're like, I know what they're doing, which usually they're not. My mom would always say this to me. I would always be self-conscious no matter what. She's like, do you think people actually have that much time to sit around and just think about you? Like, they just sit around thinking about Jennifer. That's just what they do. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, maybe. I don't know. But no, they don't. Number 3, they are leaders, not team players. It's really hard for people to give up a certain amount of control. Now, I think that word leader means they just take control. They take charge. We know now, especially after going through 21 Laws of Leadership with John Maxwell, if you've ever done that, we know what leadership truly is. It's not really taking control. Servant leadership is where it's at. Number 4, they take full credit for their success. Number 5, they will never admit when they're wrong. My husband will attest to that. I'm trying, though. I'm working on it, y'all. They spend a lot of time trying to prevent bad things occurring. Always. Like, I'm always thinking I got to be one step ahead. They never delegate tasks to other people. They always have to have the last word. They have no time for anyone who makes a mistake. And then it goes through and teaches you how to deal with a control freak. But if I can get your buy-in to empowering other people, not needing to be in control because that creates anxiety and depression, that really is takes a huge toll on your body. We don't want that either because you're trying to represent health and happiness. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, having panic attacks, this isn't great. It's not a great marketing tool. So let's get control over that. So let me go ahead really quick. I took some notes, and it's still kind of a carryover from last week with Heather, but I think we need to kind of work through this because do you guys remember how Mel talked about how your body knows before your brain knows that you're actually experiencing some type of stress? And she says it stems from some sort of trauma that happened to you between the ages of 5 and 10. Now, don't shut down on me and go, oh, this is way too weird for me. I can't handle it. Don't shut down. Trauma does not mean something unbelievably hard and terrible. It could literally be something so small, like my peach culottes that my mom made me wear. Like, I know that's crazy, but that was like, I hate even using the word trauma. I'm going to say it was a very uncomfortable moment. And a lot of things go back to that. So we have to identify, where was this moment? For Mel, it was when she was trying to read French out loud in front of the class and the teacher just dissected her over and over and over again, embarrassed her. Was the teacher a mean person? Likely not. She probably thought she was really empowering her. Speak French, I believe in you. But what it did was take a toll on Mel in other ways. So go ahead and just think about that. Think about something that happened to you that just when you think of it, it makes your skin crawl, or you just feel this like you seize up. Now, when that thought comes to your mind, I want you to think about, where in your body did you first notice that you felt uncomfortable? So for some people, here's some of the notes I wrote down for things that you might feel when you're starting to go out of control. Here's some of the things you might feel. Tightness in your throat. You could have a rash. I get this like red splotchy rash on my chest. It used to be every time I did a live meeting, and I really didn't think I was nervous. It's just my body was reacting, because it was kind of like, I guess, remembering being in front of a classroom where everyone's looking at my peach culottes, and my body's like, the pattern is everyone's looking at me. Now it's time to get totally embarrassed. But my brain would catch it. So my body was like red rash, but my head was like, we're good. So the body just didn't have a chance to catch up with that thought process yet. Your lips quiver, hot cheeks, nausea, your hands might shake. You might start to blink a lot and tear up. Who was that again? Was that Amy that said she does that with crying? Somebody here told me they have that word. It's Amy, yeah. So basically they did this study where there's a 90-second rule. When you're in any way experiencing fight or flight, fear, anxiety, stemming from some type of anxiety, trauma, something that's stemming from your childhood, 90 seconds of cortisol floods your body, because that's about the amount of time you need to either, fight or flight. I can't say the word. Fight or flight. You have about 90 seconds. It's surging through your body. Let's figure this out. Let's do something about it. That's all you got, 90 seconds. Once the 90 seconds is over, cortisol drops back down. That's your stress hormone, and all should be well. Your body's made a decision about what to do with this stressor. But most of us consciously choose to continue on with that same anxiety pattern. Anything over 90 seconds, you've chosen, which is wild. Like, why would we choose that? But we do. So here's what we're going to do. She had 4 steps, and I'm going to read them really quick, and then we can move on to Rosa. Number 1, of course, pay attention to your body. So when I feel nervous, it's in the pit of my stomach. It makes me feel like, have you ever been like getting to the airport and you're going, oh my gosh, I forgot something, like whatever it is, like you literally, your stomach drops. You're just like, oh, I get that all day long. It's the weirdest thing for no reason. And my stomach will drop out, and then I'll go, body, I'm fine. Like, we're fine. I have to talk to myself all day, because my body will just do these weird things that make you think I'm nervous. And it's just, my body is so patterned to do it. It's weird. So whatever it is, start identifying things in your body. Maybe for you, your heart starts to race, or some people get like a ringing in their ears when they're really like super anxious or overwhelmed. Whatever it is, dry mouth, rash, start to identify that. So when you see your body do it, if you recognize it before your brain catches on, you can stop it. You can stop the pattern. Number 2, label your stress response. So when you see, let's say for me, my stomach drops out. Then she suggested last week 90 seconds of whatever you want to do. 90-second plank. Can anyone do a 90-second plank? I'm going to try to do that today. I'm going to record myself and see if I can do it. A 90-second hug, which I said sounded like torture to me. The other things, ground yourself, count backwards. I just want to make sure that we're all understanding this, because when you approach Rosa's story, does anyone here struggle with being able to get rid of things, or organizing, or having like clutter in their life? I love you, Barb. She's like, no, I can tell. Look at her shelves behind her. They're totally organized. Do you see that? If you saw my shelves, I'm trying. I'm on a journey. Okay. And then the third thing that you do basically is figure out the pattern that you go into when you feel fear or anxiety. And so she's saying some people quit. That's just your pattern. I'm not doing this. I'm done. Some people get angry. Some people use humor when they start to feel it, kind of like a class clown to get out of it. Some people avoid conflict. That's my neighbor. I was totally like bantering back and forth with my husband. We just talked to each other in a really funny way. And she was in there. And then all of a sudden we were looking around. I'm like, where did she go? And she had left, and I'm like calling her. I'm like, what's going on? She goes, I don't do conflict. And I'm like, we were totally like having fun. But for her, it was like, I'm out, can't handle it. Conflict just totally freaks me out. And I thought that was really interesting. And then the other thing is people self-criticize. So it's kind of like punch yourself before somebody can punch you. Like, I'm not going to worry about you judging me because I'm doing it to myself already. And nothing you could say could be worse than what I've already saying to myself, which all of these are damaging. And you are your brand. You are what draws people in to believing that they can have better health, they can have more happiness, they can have more friendships, they can have a more fulfilling life. But when, I'm not saying be perfect. This should not be something that stops you in your tracks and say, I can't talk to anyone about plexus until I got all this right. Don't do that. But instead say, I'm working on these things. That's so encouraging to people. Okay, let's go ahead and look at today's talk. So Rosa was divorced. She had a dad that loved her dearly, but criticized her for having one B on her report card. She has a boyfriend that's never been allowed into her home. She's got stacks and stacks of things on her bed that she has to take off to sleep and then she puts back on. Her house is just a disaster, she says. And she does not want to get rid of anything. I don't know if you heard her, but she was like getting angry saying, I get mad thinking that somebody thinks they know what I should do with my stuff. Or she thinks I'm going to sell it. I'm going to make money. So I'm going to go through these questions and I'm going to see if you guys identify with any of this. So Rose is afraid of facing the mess. Does anyone remember what she did with one cabinet in her kitchen? Unmute yourself and tell us.
So she took the cupboard doors off.
I actually kind of feel like that was a God thing, like making the cupboard break the door and then showing her what's possible, because that cupboard door, she couldn't get it back on. So she went and bought all new dishes so that one cupboard, which is really sad, y'all, because why would it matter that the one that's exposed is perfect? Why? Because other people could potentially see it. Why is it that Rosa's notebook for work is impeccable? It's meticulously done because other people see it. So we value other people more than we value ourselves, which in a way it's like, yeah, do unto others. And you want to always put other people first, first is last, last is first, all of those ideologies, that's important. But you don't know how to treat other people well unless you know how to treat yourself well. Like, how would you want to treat people if you don't know how to treat yourself in a way that's loving, compassionate, caring? So I'm going to read you some of these things that she says. What are some of the things that you do to distract yourself when you cannot be in control? It says, because there's so much we cannot control, we tend to try to control the physical things, which are always in our control, which is nice because like your clothes or your dishes, they're not going to talk back to you. They're not going to roll their eyes at you. Like, you're the master of your inanimate things. So it kind of makes you have this false sense of like, I got things, I know what's going on. But really you don't. Like, everything is completely spiraling out of control, but you think you are in control. So in this exercise, it's on the very first page, page 28. Which of these things do you do to distract yourself? So go ahead and unmute yourself. I'm going to have two people share. I'm looking through this list that I circled and it says, go through your inbox, leave your boxes unpacked, rearrange the living room. Okay, so Destiny's saying, this is why I clean when I'm stressed and yet at others that aren't helping me clean. Oh, and yell at others that aren't helping me clean. Yeah, I do that too. I want them to be on that same manic train with me. I'm like, I'm anxious and cleaning and you should be too. Like, I want everybody on the same pattern. So someone unmute themselves and tell me, what are the things that you do when you start to feel that outer fear and you feel a lack of control? What do you start doing to make yourself feel like you're in control? Who wants to share?
I plan, which sounds really weird. I dream and then I calculate things. Like, I'll dream, okay, if we make this much a month, how much can we spend and do? And so anything, I've noticed, I had a realization that it's anything that does not involve me to move. I will sit and I'll calculate, I'll plan out my posts for the week. I'm doing work, but I'm also not tackling the garage, the 3-car garage that's full of boxes from 3 years ago when we moved in.
So you related to that when she said, how many of you have boxes in a house that you've lived in for years?
Yes.
And it seems like you would want to do it because it shows that you're in control of your things, but it's such a strange symptom. When you feel this lack of control, it manifests in really unhealthy ways. So somebody else share what they do to try to get back control. Anybody organize their spice rack? Obsess about the look of your online profile?
Yeah, I make lists.
Do you add stuff to your list that you know you've already done just so you can check it off?
Of course, yeah.
You know, the studies show that every time you check something off, dopamine, you get a squirt of it in your brain. So
yeah, I like having dopamine going in my brain.
She's like, get dressed, check. Brush my teeth, check.
At my bridal shower, my maids of honor or whatever, they did a skit about me and my list.
So this is real. Like this is
real. This is a long-term condition.
We need to name it like listitis or something. Well, and it's interesting because let's say that you know that you need to message 5 people, or let's say that you know you need to follow up with someone that wasn't having the most ideal product results. And you don't really want to do it because you know you're about to walk into it. So you'll make every excuse on the planet of things you need to get done that are valuable things. So it's like, I would have done it if, but what we know is that's just avoidance. And the worst part of it is you've created a pattern. So what it is I'm going to use a really outlandish example so you never forget it. Let's say your house is on fire and you need to leave. So it's something pressing. It has to happen right away. And use that for any analogy in your life. And you say, but first I need to organize my shoe rack in front of the door before I leave the house that's on fire. So in our lives, we have these little fires that we're putting out all day long, but we wait to put the fires out and they get bigger and bigger and bigger while we're doing really important, responsible stuff. And it's just avoidance. That's all it is. So what's the worst thing that can happen to you if you message somebody that's saying they aren't having good product results? Well, you might feel bad. You might feel personally responsible because you recommended the products to them, but you can get over that real quick. And then maybe you could be proactive and have little sample things that you can copy and paste to respond to them. Like, I know when I was at 6 weeks of using the products, I had some of those similar questions or some of those similar problems, but I pushed through and I'm stronger for it. Are you willing to do that? Now you've taken control back of that conversation, and your new pattern will be, I got this. I can handle this. But it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's possible. Okay, does anybody else want to share before we move on? Scan social media. That's my excuse. I'll say, well, I just need to make sure I boost my post by commenting on the comments. Anybody? Oh, Barb, that's you. I mean, it is wild what we do to ourselves and convince ourselves of. Okay, let's go ahead and move to page 29. I'm going to show you Rosa's takeaway number 3. This is where I want to kind of stay for a little bit. It says, your double life is still your life. We often display a persona to the world, which is in control and large and in charge, but it's not who we really are on the inside. So you, of course, want to look like you have it all together. That's just what you want. I'm over that now, but for the longest time, I wanted to look like that. And whenever they would ask me to speak or do some type of speaking engagement, I would always wait till like the very last minute to prepare what I was going to say. But leading up to that, they would have us do like Zooms or check-ins, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm working on that. Yep, that's what I've been doing. I got a notebook somewhere, and I wanted them to think I was responsible, and that's just not going to work for me anymore. Like, I'm just going to be honest. I haven't done it yet. I've got some great ideas. And it's so much more freeing because you don't want to be constantly worried that someone's going to figure it out or find the key to unlock the truth. Just totally be yourself, 100%, and own absolutely everything. So here's where we're going to stay for a little bit. I want to know when you're at work or at school, or other option she put is when you post on social media or just in front of your friends. I want to hear about the personas that you guys take on. What about at church? Does anybody put on a persona? I'm not saying you're a fake. I'm not saying that at all.
Well, I related to this only because, like, I have people come to my house. I teach scrapbooking classes and stuff like that. And so thank God they come over to my house, or my downstairs probably would never get cleaned. But whenever they come over, anything that's on the table, like if you saw the mess around me right now, you just like go, oh my God. But anyway, I just scoop it all out into a bag. And call me the bag lady, because upstairs, my bedroom is filled with bags of stuff that I've cleaned off the table and I've never gotten back to. So it's like, don't go upstairs in my house. It's like, you're allowed downstairs. Everything's nice and clean downstairs and it's so pretty, but don't go upstairs. No one's allowed up there.
The whole time you were talking, Amy was giving you glory
I
hand.
know.
Okay, so I read a book, or maybe it was an article years ago. Oh, someone said the oven works great for that. That's hilarious. I read this article, and it was all the life hacks for making it look like your house is clean on a quick note, like you had a quick turnaround. Get a laundry basket, put all your dirty dishes from the sink in it, and put it in the bathtub and shut the shower curtain. Like, these were all the things, and I'm thinking, this is brilliant. Because why? Why do we not do what we need to do? Why is it that we don't do the things that are required to make it so people could just show up at our house? Because if we have these little things that stand in the way of us doing the fires, the most important thing, something that can move the needle forward, then we have every excuse in the world to procrastinate. We have every excuse in the world to be a perfectionist. If we say, I have a garage full of boxes, then it's every reason why I can't go do the sip and see that weekend, because I put aside time to I gotta do my garage. You have to have something that stands in the way so you have an excuse. And I do it, everybody does it. Well, I think everybody does. Does anyone like legit not relate to this at all? Or does everybody kind of have the thing, the avoidance thing?
I have avoidance, but not so much with material stuff. It's like not wanting to crunch numbers because they scare me.
Mm-hmm. So let's say you had something you needed to do in this, whatever you're knowing that needs to get done. What excuse could you use to get out of it? Like, I have to go, is it exercise or work or what?
Well, yeah, I just pour into something else that I know I can do. Like, a great post or whatever, or reaching out to other people or messaging, or but not the stuff that I know I need to do as far as goal setting with numbers. Like, it's just forget it. Like, it just never happens.
And here's the best part. You cannot be good at something until you practice at it. And most of us will never let ourselves practice at it. We'll keep putting it off. I was listening to one of Preston Pugmire's podcasts yesterday, and he was talking about how he loves to golf. And he says, I am the world's most average golfer in the whole wide world. Like, he's like, I just not that great at it. And he had met this guy that said, well, if you want to get better at it, you need to get a coach and you could take lessons. And he was like, he was totally just disgusted by that idea, because getting a trainer or a coach to teach him how to do it is him admitting out loud, I don't really know how to do all of this. He didn't like that feeling. The guy's like, well, then you'll always be the most mediocre. You have to practice and learn from other people to get better. And then that's what it reminds me of. If I have something scary that I want to do or I need to do, and I replace it with other things that aren't as important, I'll never learn how to do that thing. I just never will. I'll never know how to do it because I've always avoided it. And I sometimes think the sting of regret is way worse than the attacking of fear. So, okay. So what is the persona that you guys, maybe on social media or at church or at work? Sorry for the dogs. My parents have really cute animals. Do you hear it? Okay. They're really sweet. One of them is my sister's anxiety dog. It's really just a precious little animal. Okay, what is the persona that you guys like to carry? Does anybody have one? I'm gonna have to start calling on people because I think.
I was gonna say, maybe if I understand what the word means exactly. Like, so, I mean, of course, I believe that I can handle anything through God's help, but yet I know there are things that are going to happen that are going to devastate me. So when it happens, is that not keeping up with the persona or whatever you said?
That's perfect. Like you're saying, if something becomes crushing to you, you don't want to show that because you believe that you can handle anything with God's help. And
no, I mean, I would show it because if you know me, you know I talk about everything. But like at first it will be devastating or whatever, you know? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding what the concept of persona is.
that's a really good point. And so let me explain that for you. It's really kind of obnoxious, really, because if you want to talk about it, you have to admit to people that you haven't been being really yourself. It's almost like dressing up in your mom's high heels. You're wanting to give off an impression to people, and your intentions are good. You always want to put your best foot forward. But what you'll find is maybe we don't do this as much on social media anymore. I'm thanking Brene Brown for this, but like we're trying really hard to just be our vulnerable, authentic, raw selves, which is a great thing. But sometimes even that could be your persona. I'm an authentic person. Like that's just the persona. That's who I want you to see me as. And at church, I do this more than I care to admit. I want the persona that I have raised obedient kids. That's what the persona I want, which I know full well that I got to ask each one of them 6 or 7 times before they actually do what I've told them to do. But at church, I want everyone to think that I have raised the Duggars. That's what I want. And so that's the persona that I give off. And I'm working my way out of that. So maybe at the gym, I don't want to look incompetent. I hate that feeling. So I want to give off the persona that, of course, I've used every machine in here. Like I know how to use them. No clue at all. But I want that persona of looking like a competent person. So really, it's just like putting on your mom's high heel shoes. Think of it like that. So maybe when you're at work, you want to give off the persona, and this is what Rosa did, of being an organized, disciplined person. And really, if you walked into your home, you would be appalled. That wasn't the person she was after all. So does anybody else have a persona they take on? Maybe when they go to a Plexus event, they put on their extra big earrings and they're like anything like that?
Well, I know I've got one that is part of it sitting in my lap. So because I'm a big family mama, I've got 8 kids. The appearance of I am super mom and I've got it all together. I can't let people see that I can't do something because it just pisses me off. Sorry, but that's the truth. That my in-laws have said, oh, you probably can't handle it. You need help. And they'll come up and they'll take over something. And that just makes me insane. So I have, on social media or, anywhere, it's like, no, I've got it together. I can handle my 8 kids. You can't, especially when you're a mom of a lot, because people will say, oh, see, she couldn't handle it. Look at how many kids she has. She needs to stop having kids, that kind of thing. So you've got to put out this thing. And I've seen that with a lot of moms of many that I've talked to. They all have that similar thing that you just can't put out your real self because people will judge you so much that you shouldn't have so many children if you can't handle it. So I like to put out that that thing that, I've got this all together. I can do my house cleaning. I can do my workout. I've got my business. I've got the perfect kids, the perfect family, type of thing. So
Destiny, that was so good. Like you want people to think that, I guess the word's perfect in a way, or that you're balancing it, or like, I got this. You don't want to feel shame for having so many children when people are thinking like, that's too many kids. It's like people, or they'll say, you got your hands full. They're like, actually, no, I don't. Actually, I'm doing great. Thank you. Because we don't want to be judged. When I first lost all my weight with Plexus, I lived in fear that if I gained any weight back, that I would single-handedly bring the entire company down. Like people, I knew people were thinking, let's see how long she can keep it off. Well, then slowly when I started putting weight back on, I couldn't handle that because it was affecting the persona for me. It was just a persona. And then once I'm able now to get past that and realize that's not really what it's about, so much more freeing. So we all kind of carry that. That was a perfect example. Same thing with adoption. Like, I want it to be where I've done this thing, our family's grown, it's so wonderful. And it is, but it's not that easy. Like, yeah, he's precious and I'm glad he's part of our family, but he chews with his mouth open. And that's disgusting to me. But I don't want to admit that this poor kid who needs nothing in the world but love and a mama, that I'm like, for real, like, you have to eat in another room. Like, what kind of heartless person am I? So we all have the persona. Does somebody else have a persona they put on for something that they do? Leslie, what is it?
Well, my husband's an attorney, so there are events that we have to go to where I will put on the attorney wife persona, which is different than the homeschool mom persona.
I love it. And it could be that some of us just have, of course you're going to behave differently like at a playground than you are in a courtroom or something. You're going to act differently. So maybe it's just like, this is the wedge of my life where this is how I behave. So it's maybe just you're acclimating to your environment, but some of us carry on. It's all about what other people think, period. We care so much about that. And if we truly do let that rule our lives, it will always be the secret impediment. It will always be the secret anchor keeping you in the same place. If you're not moving forward, it is a subconscious issue that's keeping you from moving forward. Because the truth is, we all have the same things. We have social media, we have a mouth, we have the same products, the same compensation plan. So explain to me why not every person can move forward. And the only answer is there are blocks. They're just blocks. And this is part of getting through those, is going through this kind of study. So identifying patterns that we have of, is it avoidance? Or do we, one big one is, I'll be able to do this when, and you're relying on some external change, when my husband is more supportive, or when after my kids visit, I'll be able to start back and focus on it. It's just all of these things that we're waiting for the outside to catch up and then we can work. And that's just not true. Like, we've seen people work through really horrific tragedies and still keep going. So, all right, go ahead and move on to the next page, page 30. So I was a little struggling in this page because it says it's time to start telling the truth. Take one small action at a time to be your full, authentic self in the outside world. So the first one said, this is where I got confused. Skipping dessert if you want to, even if your friends are pressuring you to order it. Wouldn't it be the opposite, having dessert even if none of your friends are having it? Like, I guess it could be that, but I just was like, what friends are pressuring you to have dessert? Like, I've never even heard of this. Is this a real thing? What? Someone explain this to me. I've never had a friend try to usually they're like, oh no, you don't want that. You're on a journey. They're like keeping me from my.
We used to have this coffee shop. I moved away from my dear bestie Krista down here. I'm saying down because she's down there on me. And we used to go and have our team meetings and do all of our stuff at the coffee shop. Are you there now? Oh my gosh, she's there now. She's at the coffee shop right now that we go to. Okay. But we knew that, there's times that we probably shouldn't be having a coffee or the scone with the lemon curd or whatever they have there. But because we're together, we feel the pressure to succumb to having the coffee or the scone together. And it's not so much that she's like, you have to have it, but that togetherness makes us have to have it. So when we get together now, but when we're 4 hours apart, we have to have cheesecake or something, we know we shouldn't, but we just pop a block or two and we do it anyway. So that's what we do.
So it's like, it becomes a pattern. It's like when we're together, we share the indulgence. So this is a real thing. Mind blown. I feel like I'm always around people telling me, no, you don't want that. Maybe I've surrounded myself with the right people for my particular needs. Well, let me read what she said. Oh, she's meeting someone to talk about Plexus at that coffee shop. Don't have a
Yeah.
scone with her, Krista. Don't
I
have
am not. I'm not having a scone, you guys. I'm here right now with my computer, my books, to get all of my work done, to work my back office without distraction of my house, and to meet a fitness trainer to talk about Plexus. But yes, I thought about that scone about 15 minutes ago, Destiny, and I'm not having it. I'm having a beautiful cup of tea, which you've seen me drink the last couple times we've been here, not the naughty coffee. But yeah, it's a real thing, Jen. It's a real thing.
All right. I just, my eyes are being open, guys. Never knew it. So the next one says not having a drink while you're out if you don't want one. Being honest with your friends and family about how you are when people ask you, how are you? Not forcing yourself to appear happy when you don't feel that way. Expressing all your emotions and knowing sad emotions are just as valid as happy ones. Exploring a topic that truly interests you. Saying no to something you don't want to do, or asking for what you need. Does someone have one of those that you could actually take on in the next week, or something that you would love to start doing so that you could feel more real, that you're not putting on a persona? Think of something.
Okay. I have one that's not really on the list, but Destiny knows this about me. So I'm totally a problem solver. Like, if somebody's going to say anything, I'm going to be immediately thinking, okay, how can we fix that? How can we make that better? What can we do? And so in my own life, I'm trying to solve problems and trying to, how can I organize my house better? How can I organize my homeschool better? How can I keep my squirrel brain on track better? And so I do a lot of work on things like that. What I found about myself is that there are certain times that I can pinpoint, I can remember where I was standing, when it happened, the whole 9 yards, when I would try to, help somebody in a loving way, not, well, you should do this, but like somebody would come to me and say, gosh, can you give me some advice on this? And I would start to say, well, what I do is this. And not that I'm a know-it-all, but there's certain things that I have abilities in. And so I actually like to clean my house. It's weird. So it's like, I can tell you great cleaning products. Like, between an office store and a cleaning supply store, I'm in heaven. And so I know it's really weird. And I'll seek help someday. But anyway, so I'm like, oh yeah, I can help you with that. And I'd start to give advice. And then that person would be like, oh, well, I could never do that. I could never do like you do. Or another person in the room would say, oh, don't feel like you have to do it like she does, because nobody can do it like that, or whatever. Just all of this like negative. And so I started just not speaking, and just like, I don't want to make anybody feel bad. I don't want to make them feel small. I don't want to make them feel less than. I certainly don't want anybody to feel like I'm the pro and I know best. And so I'll just not speak up. I'll just, stay back, because I don't want to offend anybody or make them feel bad, because everybody's happiness is dependent on me, because, I have so much power. And so that's just what I started doing. And the Lord has made it very clear that that's not the role that he's given me, that I'm not designed to be hiding in the back corner somewhere. And that if somebody comes to me for advice and I offer it, and they deny it so strongly and tell me that it's, something wrong with me, it's probably something wrong with them, that there's probably an insecurity with them, and that I need to stop hiding all the time. So Destiny knows I took a little bit of a step of faith this week, and we are doing a group with our leaders in our team. Actually, it's with everybody on our team that wanted to. We're doing the 100 Days to Brave devotional study. And it was a very kind of impromptu thing, huh, Destiny, where it was like, okay, I feel like the Lord's saying to do this, so I think I just need to do it, even though I thought 40 days sounded like a lot. And so anyway, I'm not going into it as a know-it-all. I'm learning along with everybody, but I feel like God's just trying to say, it's time for you to step up and do some leading, and stop hiding all the time, and stop playing small. And so anyway, so it's similar but different, but that persona of, oh, well, I'll just sit back here. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to hurt anybody. And that whole persona is like, okay, that's just got to go away, because God gave you certain skills and certain abilities, and that's where you're supposed to be leading and stepping into. So that's my story.
That was so good. It's literally you saying, I'm not going to use my giftings. I'm not going to use my talents, because I could potentially hurt someone's feelings. and you're right. Like if someone's feelings are hurt by that, especially when they come to you for advice, I mean, that's always hilarious, right? Someone wants advice, you give it, and then they're like, they're just so offended. That's on them. And if you are able to start to speak up and lead in those ways, I can't even picture that like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, you know what I'm talking about? Where like one thing you say to someone that could end up helping someone else, it helps someone else. It's just that whole hide your light under a bushel, that whole analogy. That's what you've been doing in a way to love people, but really you're putting on the persona of someone that doesn't step on toes, and you need to just let it go. You're not stepping on toes. You're just being yourself. That's really good. What about, have you ever gone to get your hair cut or your nails done, and the person that does it's like, how do you like it? And because you don't want to hurt their feelings, you're like, it's great. It's like the best haircut I've ever had. And you go home upset and frustrated. You hate your haircut because you cannot advocate for yourself. You can't just say, you know what? You did a great job, but I would love it more if it was like this. Like there's a way to say it. Does anybody else struggle with that? That's something I do, and I want to bust out of that. Jill, you do? Just telling the truth. Do you, Maria? Do you struggle with that? Like saying what you like or need?
Not really anymore. I mean, I used to. Now I'm just pretty vocal, and sometimes that's not good either.
Well, let's say you got a meal at a restaurant that you didn't like. Like, what would you do?
Oh, well, we don't really go out to eat much, but we have been there, and, you know, we'll just say, we don't like it. Can we, you know, exchange it for something else or return it, whatever. Cause yeah, I mean, or we just won't eat it and we'll leave. We don't go out much though.
You're like,
we're like really, we're just like really weird about going out because there's so much stuff out there.
Oh, because you can't control what goes into the food.
We have issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I learn that. I like unique. I have that same thought sometimes.
I can't rationalize like spending $50 too on a meal that I could do better at home. And I can buy an outfit for $50. Like, that's just me.
Well, you're not having any trouble. You're not taking on a persona. You're like, this is who I am. I love it. Does anybody else have something that they want to take on this week that maybe is not in their personality, but it's going to help them to start telling the truth about themselves? Barb.
A couple of weeks ago, or actually a couple months ago, I had a friend call me and tell me that it was so encouraging when she would see me in town, like in the grocery store or wherever I was doing my errands and stuff, that I always had a smile. And if she would see me talk to someone, that there was usually one of us laughing or, you know, just making me out to be this happy person and always, you know, making everyone else happy. And that is definitely not the way it is. So I'm thinking, is that my persona that I give off to people, that I'm always happy and whatever, right? And it isn't. I have some really crappy days. So I don't know.
So just being honest, like if someone says, how are you? And you're like, great, but really you're not. Like being able to say, you know, I've had better days. Like you're not dragging someone down. You're not bringing in who was the guy on Charlie Brown that had the cloud over him? Who was that? Linus? Whatever. You're not bringing in your Linus cloud if that's who it was. But instead just being honest. Because the truth is nobody can come in and walk with you through the trenches if they don't know you're in a trench. And that's why so many people on the back end of seeing a friend go through something terrible, they say, I wish I would have known. So being honest about it is actually a gift to the people around you and saying, I'm really struggling with this today. People want to partner with people, especially if, like Krista, she's the kind of person that would be perfect for partnering with someone that's going through a hard time because she really does have a skill set that could help them. And that's that partnership. And then you would, Barb, let's say you went to Krista to ask for advice or for encouragement. She would do that because that's her skill set. And then you would learn that skill from her by experiencing it, and you would go on and offer that to someone else. Like if we truly did just break off the shell, the persona, we all would be able to grow more. But because we all think we got to act a certain way, like I have to have the Duggar kids, then I can't actually grow. It's a painful place to be. Okay, so we have about 10 or so more minutes. Let's go ahead and go to page 31. Your excuses don't make you the exception. Anytime you have an excuse, that is fear talking. You're always going to have a million excuses, and they make you feel like you're in control. But no change is going to happen until you break through them. So start by thinking about what you really want. Number one, these are the excuses. What do you really want? These are the things that you really want that excuses get in the way of. I want a clean house. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be in better health. I want to quit my job. I want to stop doubting myself. I want a better relationship with my mother. I want to run a marathon. So those are the things that you want. And then she asked you, list out your favorite excuses. I'm too tired. I had a long day. I feel like eating this now. I don't have time. I don't want to. I don't feel like it. Why can't I have a metabolism like my friend? Why do I always have to be dieting or budgeting or whatever? So someone tell me, what is the big dream and what is the big excuse for you? So who's willing to share that hasn't shared yet? Okay, who's willing to share that has? Go for it, Amy. Big dream, big excuse.
Big dream is to have a clean and organized house. As you can see, here's my garage. And my big excuse is that I realized is I've done too much today. My body hurts, which I have RA. But the thing is, that's always been my excuse, but my body doesn't hurt anymore, and I'm still using that excuse. So there's that.
And what a good excuse, honestly. And that's just the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday we went to the lake. I know I want to hear from more people. Maybe I talk too much. I'm sorry. But we went to the lake, and I always sit in a chair, and I always just watch the kids. That's what I do. I just watch and I sit and watch, sit and watch. And I just thought to myself, why don't I just break the pattern? Like the inspiration of listening to this and kind of getting out of that. So I went and rented a paddle board, me, and went out on the water on a paddle board, standing up, and I never fell in. And I felt like so empowered. I literally felt like I should do like Olympic type paddleboarding. I was like, I'm that good. And I just broke a pattern. I thought, my kids were completely confused. My husband was like, this is the hottest thing I've ever seen. Like he had no idea what to do with himself. But I was like, I don't have to just sit in the chair. Like I actually can go do something, and I'm just teaching myself that. So that my big dream is to start to do things that are out of my norm. And the excuse that could get in the way is, well, you don't know how to do that. Or what if you fall in? Or you're too big for that, or something like that. And I was even better at it than my skinny sister-in-law, which I noticed, by the way. Anyone else have a big dream and a big excuse? Jill, what you got?
How to figure out how to unmute myself. Okay, so I want to have a bigger or a better relationship with my kids. They live all over the country, and so we don't connect as often as we used to, and I would love to have a better relationship with them. And my excuse is they're busy. You know, they have their own lives. You know, that if I call them, I'm going to be interrupting them or something like that. I always make up some excuse not to engage with them. So.
And what could be? I'm a fixer. What can we do about this, Jill? You guys could have like a monthly Zoom where you all hop on and just get to see each other's face.
Oh, that would be cool. My son's a truck driver. He's everywhere. You know, I'm in California. I do have one daughter that's about an hour away, but my other ones are in Wisconsin and Delaware, and God knows where Robert is, but it is a different state, you know, every hour. So yeah, it's like I always come up with some excuse like why we can't all get together. But I think if we schedule something, yeah, maybe we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, you just did it with one lives here, one different time zones and all that. Just every month, same day, first Saturday of the month, I'm going to be on. Whoever can come on, great. And for me, like my mom will call sometimes and I'm just too busy and I can't answer. But it means the world to me just to see that her name is in my missed call list, like that she was thinking about me. So anyways, I'm a fixer. I got a problem. Anybody else have a big dream with a big excuse? Barb, what you got?
4 years ago when I started Plexus, they did that Mindset Victory course, and I went through that with Kristen Abart. And it was a family member that when I would hang out with her, then my the negative mindset would always set in. You know, there was always so much negativity and stuff like that. So it was a year that I separated myself from her, a whole year. It was very hard. But now I think I'm stronger in my mindset and everything, and that I've worked along with what they taught and the stuff that I can implement or whatever on a daily basis. And now I'm scared to get together with her again, just for the simple fact that I'll fall back into those ways, right? So I always give this excuse that, well, maybe I'm not strong enough, or, you know, stuff like that.
Okay, this is huge because we talk about it all the time. And what we don't want to do is teach people to go around and just Xing people out of their life. That's not kind of the goal. So for Barb, the fact that she's considering re-engaging is a beautiful thing. Like, she took the time that she needed to kind of get control and rebuild her mindset. So now walking into it, it is not on her to know what the expectation is. It's not on her. Like, you have to tell her, these are some of the things I struggle with. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out, and you let her know, like, this is where my boundary is. And you're probably going to feel like Dr. Phil or you're going to feel weird. You're just going to be like, I feel like I sound really weird. But we teach people how to treat us. And so you going back into that relationship is very honoring of her and respectful of her as a person. But then again, if you see something that's just going to bring you right back down, I've had to do this, and it's not easy. Like, I don't like it one bit. But you just take on what other people are saying around you. It's weird how quickly that happens too. Like, you'll pick up mannerisms, you'll pick up phrases, you'll pick up thought processes, and you might even have people around you that just deepen the fears you already have. So what you did is incredibly strong. Like, I'm super proud of that. And I like that you're trying to re-engage, but you have to tell her, it's a struggle for me to be around negativity. I don't know if you struggle with that too, but I wanted to let you know up front. Like, if something feels negative to me, it affects me really deeply. So then when she goes and gets negative, you can say, remember when I told you that I struggle so much with negativity? I'm just going to take a little break right now and step back, and I just want to let you know. So you're creating the circumstances for yourself. Okay, here's how we're going to end. So she kind of walks you through how to get past your excuses, like, what can you do? And like, for 10 minutes tomorrow, for example, Amy, could she just throw out one thing from the garage? So every day. Have you heard of is it the Pomodoro effect? Who was it that we were talking about that with? Raise thumbs up if you heard of the Pomodoro effect. Okay. I mean, it's I can't even believe they call it science, actually, but it's pretty simple. Basically, the way that it works is you set a timer and you work for 5 minutes, and then you take a break. And then maybe you could set a timer and work for 10 minutes and take a break. It's this way of tricking yourself, because if you sit down and know you have to write a paper and it's going to take you 3 hours, like, how likely are you to avoid sitting down in that chair to write your paper? It's pretty likely. So you say to yourself, I'm going to write my paper for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to take a break. So the same thing, if you were to do the garage, say, I'm going to take out 5 things that are blue. I'm going to walk around the whole garage and find 5 blue things, and then you're done. And it's like, yeah, killed it. And then the next day, same thing. I'm going to take out 5 things that are the kids that they don't need. It's just breaking it into bite-sized chunks. So she teaches you how to make a plan, how to work on that goal, and how to, this is the last part. This is on page 34 and how we'll end. It says, ask yourself the most important question. Don't ask, why am I doing this? Or what's wrong with me? Or what happened with me? What negative experiences have happened to you that impact who you are right now? So this is where you need to really focus. What negative experiences have happened to you in the past that have affected you, who you are right now? Because if you can identify it, and then you can substitute what that did for you, what that feeling that comes up, where in your body it's happening, then you can start to have more control. So think about those negative experiences. Does anyone have one that's not going to be too upsetting to share? Like something that happened, maybe you tried to answer a question in class and someone made fun of you. So now you never volunteer for things. Does anyone have something that happened to them? Amy? I'm going to unmute you. Oh, I muted you back. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Sorry. I feel like I've talked this entire time. Sorry. So my clutter stuff, when I was 8, my dad was convicted of money laundering, and we had a huge house. I had a huge room with all these toys. My parents sent me away to go play with a friend for the day. And when we got back, they were literally having a yard sale out of my toy room. And so I walked into the house and my toys were walking out with these people. And so now and I just realized that that's where this all comes from, is that I don't want to let go of anything. It's mine. Don't touch it.
Is anybody having like a complete breakthrough right now with her? And the crazy thing is her parents are not mean people. Like they just thought these are things. She's not going to care. Like
right, we needed the money.
Yeah. Like she'll understand that this is more important for our family to have the money than anything else. They just didn't realize that future effect on her. And so now it's like, I'm afraid someone's going to take my things without me knowing. And so I'll make sure I keep it all. And
my husband cleans while I'm gone. I literally, and this is awful, I'm going to admit it. Don't laugh. I will go look in the trash cans to see what he's thrown away that I didn't want to throw away, which is so messed up. I know it is, but it's like that fear of he's going to get rid of a paper that has my children's handprints on it or something. And I'm not ready yet.
Well, I'm not going to laugh. I think that's totally normal. It all comes from that same feeling. And the only way to get out of it is for you to do things that are really hard. Like when they called Rosa's boyfriend and said, when can you be there with your truck to take stuff out? Like she was freaking out. But the truth is the only way for you to get through it is you can say, that was a hard memory. That was really hard for me that my parents did that. But it's just as hard for me to look at my garage like this. So you're going to just choose which hard you want to live with. So I say, experience getting rid of 3 things, wait a week and see how you feel. I have some things that people got rid of, like they kind of pressured me to do it when we were moving. And I still to this day think, oh man, I wish I still had that. But it's okay. Like it's going to be okay. And we'll be here for you too, as you're working through this so that you can reach that big dream. And also have compassion on your parents, because at the end of the day, they didn't mean to cause that trauma for you. And that will help you. I say that because so many times when something's happened from the hands of our parents, you can add insult to injury, because now you're angry at your parents and you have to have that relationship. It's part of your identity. And if you cut off that relationship, that's even more trauma. So people will get mad. They're like, my parents did this to me, and you want to shut them down, but actually that hurts you more than it hurts them. You understand what I'm saying? I don't even know how all this related to plexus, other than we're just about to be our best selves. That's what's going to happen. So big dreams. We're not going to make big excuses. So this week, work yourself out of the persona, whatever it is. And if you catch yourself doing one, maybe put it in the thread on the page, because I would love to hear when you catch yourself like morphing, like becoming something so that you can fit into the environment that you are in, like you're a chameleon. I want to hear about that, because that's a really big thing that we need to figure out. People are drawn to people that know who they are. You will sign up a gajillion people because you are pulling people to you. They're like, I love the way that she presents herself. But if you're a chameleon, they don't really, wait, hold on, huh? What? They can't keep up. So I hope this has been encouraging to you. Amy, that was beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing that. And then we'll meet next week. We're almost, what do we have, 3 more weeks left? I have to look at the book. Okay, so we'll work our way through that. I hope you guys are loving it. And if you want to private message me any feedback or something neat that we could do on the call, that would be awesome too. Otherwise, I will see you next Friday.